All right, so we're on Unit 4, Lesson 24 on rewriting expressions in quadratic expressions in factored form. So we're going to start with sums and products. So our warm-up here, we have the product of the integers 2 and 6, and it's negative 12. List the other pairs of integers whose product is negative 12. Well, I'm going to start with 1. I could do 1 and negative 12. Or I could also do negative 1 and 12. And then here we had 2 and negative 6. And I could switch the negatives and go negative 2 and 6 because negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. I could also have 3 and 4 and then just choose a negative there. So I put in the first line the positive first and the negative second. So I'll stay consistent with that pattern. So 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. And then I can switch out the negatives here. So of the patterns we found, list all the pairs that have a positive sum. Well, if I notice the top pairs, 1 plus negative 12, that's negative. 2 plus negative 6, that's negative. 3 plus negative 4, that's negative. When I add here, negative 1 plus 12, that is positive. And negative 2 and 6, negative 2 plus 6 is 4, that's positive. And negative 4 and 3, it should be here. Negative 3 and positive 4. So I made that mistake. And if I'm noticing why they are positive, it's positive because when I add opposites, or a positive and a negative, the larger number in absolute value is what sign it takes. So here, the positive is bigger, the positive is bigger, and the positive is bigger. So it's because the positive number is larger. So to list the pairs that have a positive plus a negative, where the sum is going to be negative, I can just change. I have 1 and negative 12. That's going to be negative. 2 and negative 6, that's going to be negative. And 3 and negative 4 is also going to be negative. So the negative number is larger. So here, ladies and gentlemen, we have to change from factored form to standard form. So I'm going to distribute. So x times x is x squared. X times 6, I'm going to add 6x. 5 times x, I'm going to add 5x. And 5 times 6 there, I'm going to add 30. Combining my like terms with x's, I'm going to have x squared plus 11x plus 30. Now to work backwards from standard form to factored form, what I'm going to do is list factors of 30. So I'm just writing F for factors that sum to 13. So I'm just start listing those. I know they're both positive because positive times a positive is going to make positive 30. I'm going to add them and it's going to be 13. So I'm going to start with 1 and 30. That's 31. Too big. So 2 and 15, 17. Too big. 3 and 10, 30. Too big. Oh, 3 and 10, I'm sorry, is 13. That's actually what we want. So if I put that in here, I know my x's are going to go first, but the positive 3 goes right here. So I write plus 3. And the positive 10 goes right here, and I write plus 10. So now distributing, I'm going to have x times x is x squared. And then here, I'm going to have negative 6x and minus 3 more x. So I'm going to add negative 6 plus negative 3 and put negative 9x. And then negative 3 times negative 6 is plus 18. And then working backwards, when I write from standard form to factored form, or factoring, I have factors of 18 that are going to sum to negative 11. So if I do that, I know they're both actually going to have to be negative. So negative 1 and negative 18 is too big. But if I go to negative 2 and negative 9, that's what I get right away. So I notice x minus 2 times x minus 9 is what I want. So to get some more practice, I'm going to distribute again. So x times x squared. Negative 3 times x is minus 3x, but plus 12x. So negative 3 plus 12, I know is going to be plus 9x. And then finally, 12 times negative 3 is going to be minus 36. And then looking similarly, I notice I have a sum of negative 9 and a product of negative 36. So I think I can just switch them. And what I mean by switch them is change this to negative and change this to positive. So I have x minus 12 and x plus 3. So I'm going to have x squared plus 3x minus 12x and then minus 36. Now, for factors here, if I have factors of negative 36 that sum together to be negative 35, well, I can kind of just move right into here because I know that those are going to have to be large factors. So factors of negative 36, one is going to be negative and one is going to be positive. And since they're so big, I know that I'm going to have 36 and 1. And since the negative is bigger, the negative 36 has to be bigger and the plus 1 has to be the smaller one. And then changing that for the bottom, I just switch my signs. So I have x plus 36 times x minus 1. So now we're going to have factors of 100 and negative 100. So if I consider x squared plus bx plus 100, we know that we're going to have factors of 100, and we're going to look at the sum. So we're going to complete the table with the factors of 100 that would give positive values for b. So I'm just going to start in order. I could have 1 and 100, or 2 and 50, or 4 and 25, or 5 and 20, and 10 and 10. Then I'm just going to add those. 101, 2 plus 50 is 52, 4 plus 25, 29, 5 plus 20, 25, 10 plus 10, 20. Then here, if I want a negative value for b, where b is negative, I know that these numbers are going to have to be negative. So I'm going to rewrite the first column, 1, 2, 4, 5, and 10, then 100, 50, 25, 20, and 10, and then make these all negative and add them. So that's going to be negative 99, negative 48, negative 25 plus 4 is negative 21, negative 15, and this is actually 0, so that's not going to count. Then if I'm looking for the same thing, factors of negative 100 where b is positive, we could have negative 1 and 100, which is 99, negative 2 and 50, which is 48, negative 4 and 25, which is 21, negative 5 and 20, which is 50. So now for our last one, to write each expression in factored form, we need factors of 100 that add together to be negative 25. So I'll break that up. And I know that the negative number is going to have to be bigger. So now I need factors of 100 that add together to be negative 25. So I know that they're both negative. And then I know negative 20 times 5 is negative 100. So here, factors of negative 100. So I know one's positive and one's negative. And they have to add to be positive 15. Well, if 20 is positive and 5 is negative, 20 minus 5 is 15. So that works. And then switching it to negative 15, I just take my 20 and 5 again, and I subtract 20 and add 5. And then here, factors of negative 100, we have x and x. So we could add 100 and then subtract 1.